The words hung in the air between them, for simple syllables that shattered everything Marcus thought he knew about his life. "I miss you too." His boss, no, the CEO of the entire company, stood before him, vulnerability etched across her usually composed face. How had a routine performance review led to this moment? If you're feeling the tension already, hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that explore those unexpected moments that change our lives forever. Marcus Jenkins hadn't planned on raising his 7-year-old daughter alone. But life rarely follows our carefully constructed blueprints, does it? 3 years ago, his wife Eliza had kissed him goodbye one ordinary Tuesday morning. "See you tonight," she'd said, adjusting her scrubs before heading to her shift at Memorial Hospital. 8 hours later, a drunk driver ensured those would be the last words she ever spoke to him. The grief had nearly destroyed him. Only Lily, with her mother's eyes and unshakable spirit, had kept him tethered to this world. For her, he forced himself out of bed each morning. For her, he learned to cook more than microwave dinners. For her, he accepted the promotion at Meridian Technologies that required longer hours but offered the financial stability they desperately needed. Cynthia Reeves had been a distant figure in the corporate hierarchy, the brilliant, intimidating CEO who had transformed a struggling tech startup into an industry leader. Employees spoke of her in hushed, reverent tones. She was known for her razor-sharp intelligence, impeccable style, and the cool detachment with which she made even the most difficult business decisions. Marcus had only encountered her in passing until 3 months ago, when she personally selected him to lead the development team for Meridian's most ambitious project yet. The pressure was immense. Failure would mean not just his job, but dozens of others. Success would secure Lily's future. "You have an innovative approach to problem solving," Cynthia had told him during that first meeting, her gaze direct and assessing. "And you're not afraid to challenge conventional thinking. That's exactly what this project needs." What she didn't mention was the grueling schedule, the endless meetings, the nights he'd arrive home long after Lily had fallen asleep. His elderly neighbor Mrs. Patel had become a godsend, picking Lily up from school and staying with her until Marcus returned. But the guilt gnawed at him constantly. He was providing for his daughter but missing her childhood in the process. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday evening. Marcus had promised, truly promised this time, to attend Lily's school play. She had practiced her 3 lines as Villager No. 2 for weeks, twirling around their small apartment in the costume he'd helped her make from an old pillowcase. "You'll be in the front row, right, Daddy?" she'd asked that morning, her small face serious. "Front and center, Lilipad. I wouldn't miss it for anything." But then the server crashed during the client demonstration. The entire team scrambled to fix it, with Cynthia herself overseeing their efforts, her presence both motivating and terrifying. By the time they'd resolved the issue, the play was long over. Marcus found Lily sitting on Mrs. Patel's couch, still in her costume, dried tears leaving tracks on her face. "She waited until the very last minute, hoping you would come," Mrs. Patel said quietly as Lily gathered her things. The drive home was silent. When they arrived, Lily went straight to her room without a word, somehow worse than if she'd screamed or cried. Marcus sat at their kitchen table, head in his hands, when his phone buzzed with an email. Cynthia Reeves wanted to see him in her office first thing tomorrow morning. He barely slept that night, convinced he was about to be fired. The project wasn't going well. The deadline loomed impossibly close. And now he'd shown where his priorities truly lay. When he entered Cynthia's office the next morning, he was prepared to beg for his job if necessary. Lily needed the health insurance, the stability. He couldn't fail her in this too. Cynthia sat behind her immaculate desk, studying him with those penetrating eyes. "You look terrible, Marcus." "I apologize for my appearance, Ms. Reeves. It was a difficult night." She nodded slowly. "Your daughter had a school performance." The fact that she knew this caught him off guard. "Yes. I missed it because of the server crash." I see. She tapped her manicured fingers against the desk. Tell me about your daughter. It seemed an odd request during what he assumed was his termination meeting, but Marcus wasn't in a position to question her. Lily is 7. She's smart, creative, resilient. She's had to be, since her mother died. Something flickered across Cynthia's face, so quickly he might have imagined it. And you're raising her alone? Yes. My parents live across the country, and Eliza's family. He shrugged. They weren't close. Cynthia stood abruptly and walked to the window overlooking the city. I lost my father when I was 8. Car accident. My mother worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. She turned to face him. I barely saw her. When I did, she was exhausted, stressed, always rushing to the next responsibility. Marcus remained silent, unsure where this conversation was heading. I built this company from nothing, Marcus. Sacrificed everything for it. Personal relationships, family, any semblance of work-life balance. Her voice remained steady, but something in her eyes had softened. I told myself it was worth it. That success would justify the cost. She returned to her desk and opened a drawer, removing a small frame he couldn't see. My mother died last year. Heart attack at 62. Too much stress for too many years. She turned the frame toward him. A smiling older woman with Cynthia's eyes. I realized too late that I'd repeated her pattern. Always too busy for visits, for holidays. Always promising, next time. Marcus felt a chill of recognition run through him. I'm not firing you, Marcus. You're the best project lead we have. But I am restructuring your position. She slid a document across the desk. Flexible hours. Option to work from home 3 days a week. And a dedicated assistant to handle the administrative burden. He stared at the paper, certain he'd misunderstood. Ms. Reeves, Cynthia, please. She smiled slightly. The project is important. But not more important than your daughter having her father present in her life. Why would you do this for me? The question escaped before he could stop it. Her expression turned distant again, professional. It's not charity. It's good business. Burned-out employees make mistakes. And frankly, the company's family leave policies need modernizing. You'll be our test case. He accepted this explanation, though something told him there was more to it. They discussed the logistics of his new arrangement, and as the meeting concluded, Marcus felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. Thank you, he said at the door. This means everything. I've been missing so much of Lily's life. Cynthia looked up from her computer, and for a brief moment, her carefully maintained facade cracked. I know what it's like to miss someone, Marcus. More than you might think. The weeks that followed transformed Marcus's life. He attended Lily's soccer practices, helped with homework, and was home for dinner most nights. The project progressed better than expected, perhaps because he approached it with renewed energy and focus. His new schedule also meant regular strategy meetings with Cynthia. He discovered she was not the cold, calculating executive of company legend. She was demanding, yes, but also thoughtful and surprisingly funny when she let her guard down. My mother would have liked you, she told him one evening as they worked late, the office empty around them. She appreciated people who spoke their mind. I would have liked to meet her, Marcus replied, surprised by the personal turn in their conversation. She would have adored Lily. Cynthia smiled, then seemed startled by her own words. From what you've told me about her, I mean. The project launched successfully, ahead of schedule and under budget. The board was ecstatic. Marcus's team celebrated with champagne and cake in the conference room. Cynthia made a brief appearance, praised their efforts, and slipped away before the real festivities began. Later that night, as the celebration wound down, Marcus found himself walking to her office, a piece of cake carefully balanced on a paper plate. Her assistant had gone home, but light spilled from beneath her door. He knocked softly. Come in. She sat at her desk, jacket discarded, hair slightly disheveled from running her hands through it, a habit he'd noticed when she was deep in thought. "I brought you cake," he said, feeling suddenly foolish. "Thank you." She accepted it with a small smile. "Congratulations, Marcus. The client is thrilled. It was a team effort." "Your team." "Our team," she corrected. He should have left then. The professional boundaries between them were already blurring dangerously. But something kept him rooted to the spot. "Lily's birthday is next weekend," he heard himself say. "Nothing fancy, just pizza and cake at the park. She asked if you might come." Cynthia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Me? She doesn't even know me." "Actually, she does. In a way." He shifted uncomfortably. "I talk about work. About the project. About you." "What do you tell her?" "That you're the smartest person I've ever met. That you're fair and demanding and occasionally terrifying." He smiled. "That you gave her father back to her." Cynthia set down her fork carefully. "I'm not good with children, Marcus. Lily's not just any child. And it would mean a lot to her. To both of us." She studied him for a long moment. "What time?" The birthday party was simple but joyful. Lily and her friends raced around the park, faces sticky with ice cream and cake. Marcus manned the grill, chatting with the other parents. He'd almost given up hope when he spotted Cynthia walking hesitantly toward them. She'd traded her usual power suit for jeans and a casual blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders. She clutched a wrapped package like a lifeline. "You came," he said, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. "I said I would." She glanced nervously at the children. "I'm not late, am I?" Before he could answer, Lily spotted her and came running over, all flying braids and boundless energy. "You're Ms. Cynthia. Daddy's boss. He said you might come, but I didn't believe him because grown-ups are always busy with important things." Cynthia knelt to Lily's level, her usual composure momentarily shaken. "Some things are more important than work. Like birthday parties." She offered the package. "I hope you like it." Lily tore into the wrapping paper with abandon, revealing a telescope, not a toy, but a real, professional-grade instrument. "Your father mentioned you like stars," Cynthia explained as Lily stared wide-eyed at the gift. "I thought perhaps you could explore them properly. It's the best present ever." Lily threw her arms around Cynthia's neck, oblivious to the woman's startled expression. After a moment's hesitation, Cynthia returned the hug. Something shifted that day. Cynthia became a regular presence in their lives, first through work-related dinners that somehow always included Lily, then weekend outings to museums and parks. She helped Lily set up the telescope on their small balcony, patiently explaining the constellations and planets. Marcus watched their relationship blossom with a mixture of joy and confusion. The formidable CEO who reduced board members to stammering messes would spend hours helping Lily with science projects or discussing the merits of different ice cream flavors with utter seriousness. "Why do you do all this?" he asked her one evening as they sat on his balcony, Lily having finally succumbed to sleep after an exciting day at the aquarium. Cynthia gazed at the city lights below them. "When my father died, there was a neighbor, Mrs. Abernathy. She had no children of her own, but she looked after me when my mother worked late. Taught me to play chess. Helped with my homework." She smiled at the memory. "She didn't have to do any of it. But she changed my life with that simple kindness. You're paying it forward." "Perhaps." She turned to look at him directly. "Or perhaps I'm being entirely selfish. Your daughter makes me remember what it's like to see the world with wonder instead of spreadsheets and profit margins. And what about me? The question slipped out before he could reconsider. Where do I fit in this equation? The air between them seemed to still. For months, they'd been dancing around the growing connection between them, both too cautious to acknowledge it directly. You, she said softly, are the variable I didn't account for. Their first kiss happened under the stars, with Lily's telescope forgotten beside them. Their relationship developed slowly, carefully, both of them aware of the professional complications, the personal risks, the precious child whose heart was also at stake. 6 months later, Cynthia proposed a restructuring of the company leadership to the board. She would remain CEO but delegate more responsibility to her executive team. For too long, Meridian has been my entire life, she told the stunned directors. I've recently discovered there's more to living than quarterly reports. The business press had a field day speculating about her decision. None guessed the truth, that she was making room in her life for a ready-made family that had captured her heart. 1 year to the day after Lily's birthday party, Marcus found himself back in Cynthia's office for another unexpected meeting. This time, however, he wasn't afraid of being fired. I have something to discuss with you, she said, professional as always within the office walls, despite the ring she now wore on her left hand. Sounds serious. It is. She slid a folder across the desk. Meridian is opening a new research division. We need someone to lead it. Someone innovative, dedicated. Someone who understands the importance of both excellence and balance. He opened the folder, scanning the details. The position was perfect, challenging but with the flexibility his family life required. You're offering this to me? The board is offering it to you, on my recommendation. Your work speaks for itself, Marcus. He studied her face, still marveling at how this extraordinary woman had entered their lives. And what does Cynthia, not the CEO, think about this? Her professional mask slipped, revealing the warmth he'd come to cherish. Cynthia thinks you deserve every success. And selfishly hopes this new position might mean fewer late nights away from home. I've been thinking about that too. He reached across the desk to take her hand. About home. Have you? Her voice was carefully neutral, but her fingers tightened around his. Lily mentioned yesterday that her bedroom is too small for all three of us when we read bedtime stories. Cynthia's breath caught. Did she now? She suggested we might need a bigger place. One where you wouldn't have to leave after tucking her in. They had discussed marriage, but living together had remained a delicate subject. Cynthia's penthouse was immaculate, designed for a solitary executive, not a family with a messy child. Marcus's apartment, while cozy, was too small for three. What do you think? He asked when she remained silent. I think, she said carefully, that I've never been good at sharing my space. Or my life. She met his gaze directly. But I find myself wanting to learn. 2 weeks later, they stood in an empty house in a quiet neighborhood, sunlight streaming through large windows. It had a yard for Lily to play in, a home office for late-night work, and most importantly, enough bedrooms for their growing family. It's perfect, Marcus said, watching Lily race from room to room, already planning where her telescope would go. Cynthia looked less certain. It's a big change. Second thoughts? She shook her head. Not about you. Never about you or Lily. Just. She gestured vaguely. I've lived alone for 20 years. Built walls around myself. What if I'm not good at this? At being part of a family? Marcus took her hands in his. You already are part of our family. The paperwork and shared address are just formalities. She smiled then, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. Your optimism is either your most endearing quality or a sign of poor judgment. I prefer to think of it as well-founded confidence. He pulled her close. We'll figure it out together. Moving day arrived with organized chaos. Cynthia approached it like a corporate merger, with labeled boxes and color-coded systems that dissolved into laughter when Lily decided to help by reorganizing everything. That evening, exhausted and surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, they ordered pizza and picnicked on the living room floor. Lily fell asleep between them, her he.